GM, and welcome everyone back to the Hub, Farcaster developer focused podcast here on the GM Farcaster network. And GM Adrian, how are you doing?
GM Dylan, Happy New Year. Congratulations on getting to episode 10. No small feat.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's crazy that we're already at episode 10. Excited that this is the first episode of 2025. Hopefully, the first of many more. I think there's going to be much more Farcaster developer content for us to be going over. Be another big year. I think 2024 in particular. So much happened for Farcaster. Like 10x more than I can remember from 2023. So excited to see where it all goes, and it's been really fun going over all these topics and having conversations with the people who are building in this ecosystem. So I have some fun
Yeah.
stuff lined up for this year.
It's like hard to believe a year ago there were no frames. There,
Yeah,
DGen was just emerging,
I
and
know.
there was a tenth the number of people on the network.
Yeah, less people. DJM was just starting. I think like Supercast was barely just starting. Maynard was just starting. A lot of big players in the ecosystem, and now we're in this place where not only are those apps growing so much, but there's an entire Farcaster economy. There's a suite of apps that have brought Farcaster more into the crypto mainstream or on other avenues like crypto Twitter, where people are talking about these agents and products and things like Farcade. So yeah, very, very exciting times. And 2024 did a lot for Farcaster, did even more for crypto. And so I think like riding those tailwinds, we're going to get a lot of benefit out of this year as well.
Looking forward to
Awesome.
it.
Yes, me too. All right. Well, I'm going to share my screen and we can start to go through some links for today, and then we'll see what else comes up along the way as well. Cool. So the first I saw, and I guess we can actually segue this into a couple, is that Kartik has been oh, Kartik has been making some really cool updates. Oh, it is not showing me the right link. We can just go to his profile, but on Anon World. So if you know Kartik Slope, he has worked on Nook, the client, as well as the V1 Frame app, which is still up and people are using. He built Anoncast, which is the anonymous VK platform for casting, and he turned that into Anon World, which is essentially a ZK credential-based Reddit like app built on top of the Farcaster protocol. It's all also open source, which if you're looking for a really comprehensive repo to look through, I would recommend checking his out. But we can just show quickly what Anon World is. You have a similar like trending posts tab like you would in a Farcaster client. You can show info about your profile, but you don't have to say Dylan or Adrian. This is your anonymous profile, of course, and then the credential that you're posting with. So this person here has 50K plus of Citizen, which is a token, I believe, crypto citizens from the Bright Moments art group, and then you can make any community you want. So Anoncast was the first, but the cool thing is you can either use an existing credential. So I don't think it was used much, but like I made this one for Purple DAO. Any Purple DAO holder can post, but you can also create a new credential. So I could say fans of the hub, and it can create a Clanker token for me, and then we have a community around that Clanker token, which is really cool. Also, a side note, like great that so many different apps are finding these ways to integrate with Clanker, and that there's this ecosystem now where people have more of a vested interest in other projects because they're all building on top of this similar stack. So a lot of cool stuff. Also, each of these communities get a free Farcaster account. It's using Nanar under the hood, and they get a free smart wallet, which is using Privy Server wallets. So like a lot of really cool primitives. And if you had tried to build, even putting the ZK stuff aside, and if you were to say, I want to build an app that gives communities a free Farcaster account and a wallet, like an embedded wallet, I don't know how you would have done that a year ago today. So definitely goes to show you the power of the ecosystem and how much it's rapidly changing.
This is really cool. I know you created a community. Have you been casting using ZK? on Anon World? Or
Not much to be honest. I would definitely like to more. It's one of those things that I think is very cool, but I just haven't interacted with much. I have seen a couple, this isn't the same, but like I've seen a couple instances of people using the Anon accounts in ways that I don't love, but I think like Kartik and other people doing this kind of stuff are well aware of it. The two I've seen is either you're like promoting your project, like you're very openly using it and it's just open distribution, or being like, look at what we're launching at this company next week. Or the one I really don't love is people using the anonymous account to like say bad things about Farcaster or even about Anon or anything like that. If you're, I don't know, I mean, it's an experiment, so people use it for whatever. But if you're going to say something about Farcaster, we can have a larger conversation instead of you using the non-count to try and be spicy and say something that is just going to like lead to a larger conversation. But overall, I think it's been a really net positive that people have a tool like Anon and shed even more light on Farcaster, and Kartik has been making really quick updates on all this stuff.
very cool. And he's got a V2 frame as well, right, for Anoncast?
Yes, I don't have it added, otherwise I would show you here, but he does have one, and I think the way it works is if you have it added, you can just access the entire like app, or if there's a post, there's like a reply with the frame in it, maybe something like that. But yeah, there is one.
Now, do people still need to hold a non-token? Do you know? Do you know? Because this was the one
Oh,
I
so
think you
I don't
needed a
think
certain amount of Anon to post. Is that just like a V1? Is that, do you know if that requirement is still there?
I think here, let me show you my account. I think you just need the anon to post in the anonymous community.
Ah,
And at first, I think it was that way because Anon was the only community and they didn't have others beforehand. But
mhm.
now I think you just need a credential to post there. It seems like maybe here I can just post without a credential, but I'm not sure.
All right, we'll play around. Oh, maybe that's
Yeah.
what it is. So I have the V2 frame installed. Maybe the V2 frame is only for posting anonymously using the Anon credential.
Um,
And maybe you have to go to Anon, what is it, Anon.world
yeah. I'm not sure. Maybe
to
they
use
updated
another
it, but
credential.
yeah, I could see either of those being the case. But yes, either way, you should definitely check out Anon World. Kartik's making a lot of updates. And if you are interested in contributing or anything like that, I'll just flash the link to the GitHub here. I can put it in the show notes, but open repo, if you use things like Next.js, then there's some cool familiarity there in that repo. Cool. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is some cool work that I've seen from the OpenRank Kira team. I'm not sure which one they're going by, but I know the product is Kira. I'm just going to read the first cast or two here and then can go into what I think they're doing or what I've seen them doing. After helping hundreds of channels through Kira Bot, our conviction is stronger that channels need help in building, bootstrapping, and growing their communities. We're now combining all the Legos, channels, frames, agents, smart wallets, tokens, and OpenRank to give each channel their own autonomous AI agent, which will launch channel leaderboards and automatically reward users for quality contribution, launch channel wallets and tokens that power the channel economy, automate channel membership, and surface curated and algorithmic feeds for your channel. So just at a high level, as you can see in this Excalibur as well, it seems as though they are building infrastructure for channels and an agent. I'm not sure if the agent lives in the bot or on their website, but some sort of agent that helps you um, moderate the channel. I really do like this idea of Legos for a particular channel, and there are different pieces involved in that. You need to get people into that community. You need to manage, retain the community to make sure it's still high quality. You can have all this extra distribution stuff. I think channels are a really tough egg to crack, and a lot of different people and teams have tried to solve this problem. It does seem like Sahil and the Kira Open Rank team have been very focused on this and are. And it seems that the tools that they're focused on are more around engagement and you get paid in this token, or yeah, just like more around engagement, which I think is a better heuristic. So I'm optimistic for what their work can bring. And hopefully, I know that Dan and the team's focus has not really been on channels, especially because they had so many shots on goal to like try and get the sticky thing for channels. But I think the cool thing about the ecosystem is whether it's something like channels, whether it's something like FIP2 itself, which obviously channels uses, if there is something that you are taking a bet on and you're not Warpcast, but you find novel ways to like make use of that feature, then you may actually influence Warpcast to build something different or even build an accommodation around what you're building. So I think that's like the real bright side or like optimistic take to building in an area that maybe like the maintainers haven't shown as much love to.
Yeah, totally agree. Because, obviously if you're active on Farcaster, we've seen so many iterations of channels um, and it is really driven by the Warpcast team, but you have all these other people and developers building tooling and trying and getting involved. And it's been a nice kind of group effort to try to figure out how to make channels sticky and work. This looks really cool. Sahil and I think Humpty are coming on GM Farcaster on Thursday to chat about this.
Oh, nice. Make
So
sure to tune into
we'll
that.
yeah. I also think, and I don't know how you are lately, I've noticed my own experience is like I'm casting in channels less.
Mm.
I went back and forth, and it's as of now, it kind of feels like the meta is channels are pretty quiet, and not to say there aren't some that are still very useful. And there's vibrant communities, but just for me personally, I've been doing it less. But I just really love about Farcaster that it's like nothing's ever dead, and
Yeah.
you can shift focus, but it doesn't mean that there's still not people working. So I love looking at this like Legos. Like these are, composable pieces that have built. There's functionality there. I'm excited to see what they're building.
Yeah, for sure. Like this exact moment may not be the heyday of channels, but maybe different experiments like this really change that, and it could change in such a short amount of time. That's like the meta Farcaster that we see that'll happen really quickly.
Yeah.
And then yeah, to your point, I haven't really like focused as much on what channel I'm casting in. If anything, just like default to my own channel to have it all in one place, but it doesn't really matter that much.
I created a channel yesterday for someone and I just looked at all the different options, and unless you're like really focused, I'm like, oh, I forget I don't know what the current state of tooling is because I haven't been keeping up myself. So there's still so much. There's so much there. So I think there's still a big opportunity for kind of taking these Legos and making it really easy to use because to kind of create and curate a good, healthy community.
Yeah.
'Cause I still like the idea of kind of cozy corners in the internet.
Yeah, no, I mean, actually cracking channels, I think would be awesome.
Yeah. I don't think the world is meant to be in a group chat.
Yeah, I know. Well, definitely like the smaller group chat thing, like especially on Twitter, you see so much of this talk of like such small group chats or where all the alpha is, etc. I think part of that is true. I think it's really hard to do when you have this like several hundred member public thing. I do think I forget maybe Ted or someone was talking about what would it be like if we had like much smaller channels that are just a couple of people. And if it is private, I mean, maybe I don't want that as a cast then. Maybe I just actually want it as a group chat. But I do see the benefit in having this network of just like a much, much smaller number, like handful or 10 people or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Exciting.
right, cool. Yeah. Let's see what is next. So Stefan from the Frames.js team, who is always building cool stuff. Recently, he built this V2 frame called IRL. Let's see if we can find it really quickly because it is related to this. Here's an example of it. So I think IRL is kind of like a little B-reel for Farcaster, which is a fun tool. It's a good use of all the different Legos. You can like get a notification saying you have X number of minutes left, etc. He turned that into a Frames V2 template I wonder if it uses Frames.js. I haven't looked into it yet because Frames.js apparently now supports V2 frames and has things like a playground, which are so helpful because if it wasn't for them, there's like no other open source hostable version of that stuff. But yeah, I think this is a cool template. It seems to be one of the more comprehensive ones that isn't just built by the Farcaster team. I definitely trust Stefan. And so if you're looking to build a pretty rugged V2 frame with Sign in with Farcaster, notifications, helpers, it looks like for things like Social Graph, then I would recommend checking this template out.
And Dylan, can you remind people who may not know Frames.js open source frames library?
Yeah. So Frames.js, the two main things that they do are they let you host frames in your app, and they let you create frames. But the cool thing is they're extensible across a lot of the JavaScript ecosystem. So whether you like just use React or a framework like Next.js or on your server or React Native, it works across all of those. They created something called open frames where for like V1 frames where your frame can render in both Farcaster and Lens. And so there's support for that. But really everything else across the gambit. So if you want to create a cast action, like I have one for caster scan, I use Frames.js for that. Basically any single anything you would need to do, it's really like V1 frame focused, but then they just started with V2 frames recently, and they have this great frame debugger where you might have seen like Farcaster has this developer slash frames page where I can put in like one of my frames, for example, and test it out. You know, it's not exactly the same, but they have their own debugger here where if I put in, we're doing Farcaster V2 underneath here, it should show. Maybe it's not showing, but it should show like the whole frame, and this is like their own version of a debugger. Oh, here it is at the bottom. But yeah.
Cool. Is this a good place then to start if you're new to frames?
Yeah, if you're new to frames, I think this is definitely a great place to start. They have a lot of different like examples or scaffolds where you can just like download something and you have a boilerplate for a frame. I would also think that because they've been around for a year or so now, that it's pretty AI indexed and you can ask, check for yourself because I haven't recently, but I would assume if you ask ChatGPT, make me a React app with Frames.js, or you just take one of the pages like this and literally copy paste it into ChatGPT, that you can get pretty far or do most of it. And on their GitHub, as I was kind of mentioning, they have like a bunch of different examples or templates here, like 10 of them or so.
Wait, and did you say it'll help you with creating cast actions, or did I hallucinate
Yeah.
that?
So any frame related thing, like cast actions, composer actions from V1 and now V2, Frames.js covers all of it. And other than Merkle, they're probably the most like comprehensive. Or Merkle doesn't even have a package like that for
Yeah.
V1. So I think it's the most comprehensive like frame tool.
And do you know who's behind Frames.js? Like who maintains it?
Yeah, it's David DF, David
Is it David
Furlong, and
Furlong? Okay.
Stefan. Yeah. And
Shout
I think they
out
have one or two other
David.
team
Is it
members.
Stefan or Steven?
I think Stefan, but I don't know for
Have you
sure.
met him in IRL? Okay. I've been
I
saying
have,
Steven,
yeah.
so now he's
Yeah.
got to tell us.
I know.
This guy,
I'll have to come on.
all right. Well, shout out Stefan or Steven Sill and DF. We appreciate you guys.
Yes, no, very good. I know David's someone who's been building in the ecosystem for a very long time, and I can tell he's one of the people that doesn't just focus on every X number of months I need to do a flashy announcement to get everyone's attention. You can tell that he's really like principled and just like trying to find good product market fit with whatever he's building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm asking so many questions is right before this, or we got on, I had an idea for a cast composer action that
Mm,
needs to be built. And I'm like, oh, I wonder how hard it would be. And maybe I can do it. Maybe I'll do. I need more hackathons.
yeah. Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
how hard would it be if you were a dev who said, I want to create a composer action that takes a time and converts it and displays it in different time zones. So like
Oh, I
every
don't.
time I easy, right?
Yeah, it can be one if it's like a Next or React or something. I think you can do like one big file. There's even packages you can use. I mean, probably built into JavaScript, but there's like a
There's
package I can send to you.
libraries.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
like in
But I
one
wanted
file you can like, yeah,
I was just imagining a composer action where I just put in a time, like 11 a.m. Eastern or 11:30 a.m. Eastern, which is when we go live with GM Farcaster. But I just want to like give 3 or 4 of the most popular time zones and have that spit back to me so I don't have to go calculate it, find it, type it. And then our friends around the world will be happy because they will know when
yeah.
we go live.
I'd assume you could even have, I mean, like the simplest version of this is probably what you just described, like getting the times. I could even assume another one is you copy paste in what your message is going to be, and then ChatGPT edits the message with the times for you. Or maybe
Yes,
that's too
even
much,
better.
but
No, that
yeah,
is exactly what we need.
nice.
And ChatGPT never fails us. So I'll build
Yeah,
that
no,
someday.
awesome. Well, yeah, let me know if you need help. I think that's definitely something you can do, especially if you do all the other stuff that you're doing, like with the bot.
Hmm.
Another cool tool that I've really liked is Farcade, especially in December. This was a tool that everyone was talking about a lot, like got a lot of eyeballs. I think they had raised this past summer, but they were really quiet. And I don't know if they were anticipating like a V2 frames launch or whatever, but it seems as though that like perfectly set off what they're looking to do. And with V1 frames, they could have done some of this, but I think this like is they're like a perfect use case for this. And it's cool to see. I'm not sure if it's them or like Matthew Fox's thing, but saw some people talking about making V2 frames that are also Telegram mini apps and WorldCoin mini apps. So the idea of this composable app that is following you across your social graph and in some cases off chain with Telegram. That's pretty neat. And also to me shows how like lightweight or extensible V2 frames are that seemingly without creating like three different versions of your app, but just having some small little transformers or whatever, you can make it work across all three. But yeah, they have this latest game called Black Hole. To be honest, I have not tried it yet. I need to spend more time on it. But they have a really increasing number of games available. They have this ticket system, and you can give tickets out to other people. And the thing that I am the most excited about, and they haven't released yet, but I saw a screenshot somewhere. I don't know if I can find it, is the creator that they're going to be having. It looks as though I can't find it, sorry, but it looks as though they have a tab like whitelisted for certain people, and it is essentially a Claude artifacts or V0 like editor, but for making your own game. And I even saw a page for like assets and stuff, and it seemed I haven't really seen it. I'm not sure what language they're using, but it seems as though it's pretty comprehensive in terms of letting you upload actual like 3D assets, letting you type and create real code. So my thought would be maybe that's what they've been spending a lot of the time on is creating like the proper backbone and framework for like what constitutes a game on paper or in their database or whatever, and then having that tool there, because that's something I haven't even seen yet outside of Farcaster is like an AI game creation tool. So I think that's novel in many ways. And from what I've seen and heard of it, it seems like they've put a lot of time and thought into it. And so when even more people get access to that, and imagine if you could even do that on mobile, I think that would be like so fun. People will spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah, really cool. Have you been playing Farcade?
Not as much, admittedly, as I would like to. I have some tickets, but I have to go in and explore. But the first time I saw it, I was just very impressed with the whole thing. The loading screen was nice, going to all the different pages. I really like that they have the TikTok style feed. I think that's something that more apps need to utilize in terms of just like quick engagement on whatever it is. But very
What does
impressed with
that
what I've
mean,
seen.
TikTok style feed?
Like, let me see if I can go back to
Scrolling
it in the
up.
video. Yeah, so like, so here on the home page, you have like this grid of apps here, but
Hmm.
then when the user scrolls down to the bottom three arrows, it just becomes like a TikTok style vertical feed where the entire page is consumed with like a preview for one app. And then
Gotcha.
kind of like TikTok, you have these little vertical buttons here where you would be like liking the TikTok, and then you just scroll up and down to see like one item at a time. And but the thing I like about it, this like TikTok style feed, is like you're already in what you're going to be doing. Like if you see the preview for 2 or 3 seconds, the friction between you seeing the preview and like starting the game is very low, and it feels like you're kind of already there.
Hmm.
And the same with the TikTok, like you may be watching the first 2 seconds as a little preview, but like you kind of just keep watching, and there's no I want to start watching this thing. You're already in it. So that's what I like about it. And separately, it'll be interesting to see non-crypto what happens with TikTok. And I've seen some people saying, "Oh, this is the perfect opportunity for a crypto vampire attack." On paper, that sounds cool, and I really like certain products that are pushing in that direction. But given this is going to happen in a couple days, I don't see any logical plan where that's going to take place. Like I don't say, like, maybe controversial. I really like Dracula and Alex, but I don't see him putting out a tweet or a cast being like, "Hey, everyone, come join Dracula from TikTok," and that's just gonna happen. Like,
Right.
more power to them if it does, but like that sort of network effect of moving hundreds of millions of people off of a platform is very challenging, especially for an industry like crypto that is still honestly peanuts compared to like any other social or entertainment space.
Well, when TikTok goes away, there's going to be a void, like a
I
big
know.
vacuum, and something it's going to get filled.
Well, I mean,
Maybe people will go back to reading a book.
yeah, that'd be nice. That's the next social network, is running to everyone in the street showing what book you read. I don't think it means that there can't be any sort of crypto attack here, but it has to be done like really thoughtfully. And obviously, with crypto, people get really sucked into building for the existing crypto community. And so, really trying to do a vampire attack like that is honestly marketing more than ever. Like, you have to actually get in front of the people who are using the existing solution. And if not, they'll fall into the hands of the incumbent, like Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I saw, which has been great to see, is people converting their normal like apps or PWAs into V2 frames. I've been seeing a lot more like Farcaster founders doing this, of people who have been taking long bets on Farcaster and have apps up. And Bracket Game just did it in a way I think is really cool. So they have this bot Bracky, which I have to play around with more, but it seems as though there's a token, but it can also maybe like ask you answer questions for you. It would be really cool if I could ask it, for example, like, "What do you think about this potential bet I'm gonna make?" And it gives me information just based on analytics. That could be really cool. I'm not sure what else it's doing right now, but they have this really cool V2 frame. It seems as though you get some sort of airdrop. I can, look into later, but it's the entire bracket game, and you can, do bracket stuff like betting on the NFL football bracket. So, great design as always. If you haven't already checked out Bracket, I think this is nice. And I think it's a good sign of conviction when long-term Farcaster founders um, adopt the new tech, even if they weren't adopting the new tech on day one. I'm sure Dan would have loved that, but this is still like pretty early on, and I think we'll see more people doing that as well.
Are you claiming Frames V2 is not new tech?
Well, no, it is. I guess my
Is
point
that
is like
is that what you
it's
mean?
already
Like
been
it
out for like 2 months at this point, and
that's the speed. Yeah, if you're 2 months late to something new, then you're late. That's the speed at Farcaster.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, it was definitely this thing where at first, I mean, obviously Dan is going to be the cheerleader for it because he wants people to implement it. But
Yeah.
at first, there was like a mix between, do some of these people not want to integrate V2 frames because of like an ideological divide or because they were just busy? And like Jason from Moxie, for example, came out really quickly and said, we're going to implement V2 frames, but like we're booked through the end of the year. So like we kind of just can't do that right now. So I would assume that most people fell into that bucket where like a bracket is pretty well established. I'm sure they have like a roadmap of things that they're doing with their time. Um, I'm sure that more people fall into the bucket of we needed to make time for like making the most out of V2 frames rather than we had some ideological divide. And then I'm sure there are other blockers like I think this is solved now, but at first I know like people wanted Privy to make the integration with WogMe because like Frames has their own WogMe wallet connector, and Privy needed to add it. I think for the Privy like auth to work inside of V2
Mhm.
Frames. I think that is done, and hopefully for a lot of people who are using Privy, that makes it like a one line change or couple line change to add a V2 frame. But yeah, I guess the overall point there is like I would assume that a lot of these big apps would add V2 frames, but maybe weren't rushing in at first just to be like, hey Dan, look, I adopted your new thing,
Yeah.
you know.
And I'm obviously teasing, but and partially that's because I want a GM Farcaster V2 frame, and I also cannot get it done in the first 2 months, so someday.
Hey, it's all right. Well, that's another thing we can talk about. Like maybe if you still have that website up, maybe that's even a small thing to start with. It's just like turning the website into a V2 frame. That's something I could totally help
Oh,
with. I mean,
baby
and then a step up
baby
from there
steps.
is yeah, and then you get a notification, hey, like instead of just
Yeah,
casting it out, hey, click in here to go view the live stream, or the live stream pops up in the yeah.
we're
There's
gonna get
also
there.
another I can tell you off there's a frame idea I would like to see, or I can so maybe I told you off stream that I'm building a new project, and the one thing I will tease about this project is I don't know how well it's gonna go, but something I would like to try out is what if you build a frame, but the size of the frame is the size of the embed here, and you call it something like a slim frame, and it would work really well for something like a live stream. Like let's say
Mm,
that you want to cast like when this show or GM Farcaster goes live on X, you see the live stream in the cast itself. So what if a developer could say, I'm making a frame, but it's a slim frame, and I'm restricting what's in my frame to the width and height of what's normally the preview. And then you have a frame that has no scrolling up or down, but it only lives in this small little part of the cast. And then you can do stuff like watch a live stream, play a little game like tic-tac-toe or whatever, and you don't need the entire like vertical height or
right,
pop-up of a frame like browser. So I think that could be cool. Or even for the airdrop, like let's say that the goal here isn't to take people fully into bracket and you just want them to claim the airdrop. That's something
mhm,
V1 frames were great about because you're just like cycling through the buttons to take the action. But
yeah.
what's the hybrid where I'm taking the action in the cast and I'm not like fully loading in the other app, browser tab. So that could be cool to see as well. We'll see how far I get with that one. Awesome. All right, let's see what's next here. Okay, this one looks cool. Let me open it up. I'm gonna have to make some updates to my little show notes thing here. I have some technical difficulties with it sometimes. Um, from N, Nico, who is part of the team building Wheeled Labs, FarQuest, Beb. I'm not sure what the official name is, but they've been building on Farcaster for I think something like 2 years in terms of when I've been following them building on Farcaster at least. They launched Far Agent, agent designed to reward builders, creators, and reply guys fairly. This is something that I need to look into as well. To be honest, I have not tried it. from the cheap sheets, it seems like they're doing some AI X Farcaster stuff. So just like another thing to keep in mind. Another thing very similar that I can show quickly is some work from Hellno, who is working on creating a frame in a frame. Looks like something with AI to make a frame, and he's been streaming it on Twitch, doing some co-working. So not really sure what my follow-up comments are on the work from Hellno or Nico, but overall, I think you can tell that people are leaning more into what does the AI X Farcaster or crypto look like. People definitely wanting to build these agents, and there's many different like similar or overlapping experiments, but I think they can all lead to cool things with like different research outcomes. So we'll see what happens there, but we're definitely still like in this AI moment for a good bit, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if the AI moment's going to pass us.
Yeah, it's
It's
too strong.
yeah,
It really is. I also wonder if it like I wonder how far these metas are gonna go and how much Dan and Varun will embrace them. Like I saw in a cast recently, someone said something like, "Hey Dan, would it be really cool if there was support for tickers in Warpcast? Like you see a token ticker and click on it and get info." And his response was actually something like, "It's been on our backlog, but maybe we'll get to it." And if
mhm.
you had asked Dan that like 6 months or a year ago, I would think that he would just flat out deny it and be like, "No, we're not doing it. Like that's not our angle XYZ." Um, Agents have potentially like changed the landscape of Farcaster even more, or especially in the past couple of months. And so I wonder, as these metas like tokens and agents go further, how far are they going to go and how much are they going to be embraced? Like if agents really become one of the top metas for Warpcast, is Warpcast, for example, going to have like some agent creator, or are they going to have their own chat where you have your own agent built inside a Warpcast? Like I haven't seen anything indicating that from them, but I just wonder like if a meta gets so strong, how willing are they to lean into that meta?
We'll see. Did you see Dan's casts last night?
About the ticker stuff,
The
or
ticker, yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think that's what I was like
Yeah,
from Ravi, right?
no, scroll up.
Oh,
He's just asking up a little more. All right, you passed it. There you go. Please respond with your favorite ticker. So, and Dan does his little user
oh,
research.
yeah.
No context, but he's asking about tickers. So,
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Can see really quickly if I can find the original.
he also asked if there's a Dune dashboard that shows all tokens launched on Farcaster across all platforms.
Oh, there we
All the
go. This is
tokens.
what I saw from Ravi from Hype. So
Mm.
maybe this kicked off some research.
Oh, I missed that. Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely a very Dan thing that he's just asking some questions for his little research and then he can put it on a Notion or whatever and show it to the team. Smart though. Free research on his own platform. All right, let's see. Or actually, since we have a little extra time, I can show something fun two fun things that I built over the weekend. Then will take 5 seconds. One is for a while I've been building Caster Scan, like a block explorer for Farcaster, which I kind of want to do a little bit more work on now because it's getting a lot more like it's getting like a couple thousand requests a month, which is like a lot more than I anticipated, a lot more than it's had. Beforehand on the homepage, I just had a live feed of recent casts coming in from Nanar, but it was getting a little bit too like much for me to just call that route. Like it was getting called way too much. And so I was thinking, what's like a different alternative that's also more real time? and hubs themselves have a method where you can subscribe to all incoming events. And so I made a little bit of a change. And now when you load caster scan in a second, we should just see like a flurry of casts coming in.
Hmm.
Yeah, there we go. Because these are all live, so the casts at the top are the most recent casts posted to the network, and I think that just creates like a even cooler effect where you're seeing these casts coming in, and it's a little bit more efficient for me because instead of paying for calling that route every time, I'm just subscribing directly to a hub. So that was like a fun little change just for me, like quality of life
Nice.
wise, and then completely not Farcaster related, but I made it a V2 frame. Someone on Twitter showed me this site consumed.today, and it's just like a really interesting log of what this person consumes every day. So like physically, this is what they eat, this is what they read or and then this is what they listen to. And I just thought this is like everything about it is so quirky and interesting. Like the fact that all the images are transparent, the animation, the simple layout,
Hmm.
and I've been posting these like egg sandwich pictures, and I was like, well, what can I do with AI? And I basically made like a clone of that website and got the domain beck.watch for like $2. And so now you can go to any day and see the egg sandwich that I had, little rating for it,
Okay, is that a picture?
location.
That's your picture you took?
Yeah.
I have so many questions. How do you make it? How do you take a picture and make it transparent easily? Is that
Um,
Apple?
I Apple does have a good tool that I need to get better with. I use this website remove.bg. I use it for a lot of stuff in general, and then it's not perfect with all of them. Sometimes I have to use the little manual tool and like red out the areas that I don't want. But I do know Apple has this sticker feature that's supposed to be really good at like isolating items and then making it a transparent picture. I need to get better at that. But yeah, this
I
is a fun little tool. It's not really crypto related at all, but I thought it'd be fun to make it a V2 frame, and that's like a cool way to share things with your friends.
I love this. I somehow missed it um, when you were doing it. How did you? Where are you saving all this information? Like, what's
It's
your
just
date?
it's just all in.
Are they
Well, it's all on
files?
GitHub. Yeah, so it's like one big like array essentially. So in data here, it's just like day content, and then it's an array of objects, and every object has the date, so like January 11th, the image, the rating, like all that, like all the static information. And then I just keep all the images of the sandwiches here in this little sandwiches folder. And then yeah, I mean, starting out, I just threw, if you've used like a V0 before, I just put in the
Mhm.
link to the website, and I told V0 like make a version of this, and then I got like 70% of the way there and kind of did the rest. But I definitely like that idea as well of like not necessarily software that you're making to throw out, but software where the idea comes to you in the spur of the moment and then you can act on it quickly. Like
Yeah.
one thing, I was talking with my dad, and he does a lot of like work around the house and like maintaining and cleaning different things out. But he says the schedule is kind of just kept in his head. So I'm going to see if I can like make little personal software for him to like organize all his different tasks, etc. I'm literally making egg sandwiches right now. Hey, yes to crypto. If you want to be featured on Beck.watch, take a picture, and we can add it with your rating if that's what you want to do. But either way, you're here with us in spirit, so that's very cool.
Well, Dylan, what you just described, that's kind of like what people have been predicting about the future of AI, which is like everyone becomes their own software developer. And instead of having consolidated like SaaS apps, it's everyone runs their own. It's like, oh, I'm going to just spin up some software to handle my housework. And I'm going to spin up my own software to log my egg sandwiches. By the way, do you think people outside of New York know what Becks are? It seems like very much a New York. Oh, he already
Yeah, I don't
casted.
know. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm
Um,
not sure. Probably not, to be honest, but the domain was available. I was like, I can't, because I was
no, I love
using
it. You
Beckwash
get
before, so um but yeah, no,
oh,
I definitely like really like that idea. I think like even outside of Farcaster, that idea of like personal software is something that I'm really interested in. And the benefit for Farcaster is there isn't a gate between you getting that data that you need to make the personal software. Like you own your Farcaster account, all the data is open and permissionless on these blockchains. So that's like a really cool use case there. Or like for the thing Hell No was saying, like making a V2 frame with Farcaster data for your own particular use case. Well, all right, let's see the last couple we have here. So one from Dan, just plugging this video if you want to convert an existing PWA or web app to a frame. Um, I really like that, like the Farcaster dev team is like taking it upon themselves to do a little bit more marketing for frames, especially as a push. Like what I like about this is like they're making a push to deliberately show something that they have a lot of conviction on, but no, it doesn't have as much usage as they would like it to. And that doesn't mean anything bad on V2 frames right now. It's like that's how a lot of the world works. Like you build something really awesome, and it's not always as if overnight that thing's going to get adoption. It takes a lot of work of educating, improving upon the thing. So I really like that they're putting in work to like have all these different resources available so that if you come across this topic and you're making something that can be easily converted to a V2 frame or can be a V2 frame, that it would almost be a no-brainer in terms of you being convinced, as well as if you're on the edge or like ledge, having all of these different options available for you to learn, like these YouTube series from Horsefacts, all these different starter repos that you can just clone, docs. It's a little more bare bones, but there's also framesv2.com, which is just like a simple link tree for all these different getting started resources. So I like that all that's available and they're making a push to market it. Cool. And then the last one I wanted to show is another V2 frames template from Steve from Pinata, as well as Orbiter. And the reason I wanted to show this is it is a cool little demo. It is not using Next.js, I think. I think it's just using React and Vite, which is a good little mix up. If you don't use Next.js, you have another example here. And Steve, as well as Polluter of Minds, Justin, they have been building this cool tool called Orbiter, which is a really simple static site launcher, which I believe uses IPFS. This is also something I need to check out, but I think it's cool. And I think it's great when people like try and use crypto infra to just solve a problem in general. Like another way of marketing this could be make your Web3 on-chain native website, you know? But they're just like, let's make a really simple website and it uses whatever tech under the hood. And so I really like that. And yeah, people just like pushing to make useful products with cool tech behind the scenes that other people will use. So that's cool. The template here is cool, and you should check both of those out, which we'll have in the show notes.
And I
Awesome.
totally agree with the like lead with what your app does. Don't lead with this is how it's built.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's another thing I like as well about like the marketing of V2 frames is I don't think they're going around saying on-chain native, mini app store, JavaScript, BlogMe, whatever. They're just saying like you want to get your app in front of users. Here's the quickest way to do it. And that's also why when Dan finds these success stories like Farcade, he's going all out to like actually show their bags and like post it on Twitter and show all of that. So that's something I like appreciate. Awesome. Well, I think that is the main news that we have today. I believe next week we are going to have the first bi-weekly dev call back next Thursday. So there'll be more going on there. I know some people have still been kind of easing into 2025 and building stuff. But I think even today there was like a little bit more to go over than I anticipated. So I'm sure it will continue to ramp up. And as always, the people who are like sticking around the ecosystem or maybe just more, heads down right now, which is obviously fine.
Yeah, they're always good stuff to talk about. Thanks for leading us through the conversation, Dill.
For sure. And thank you as always for joining, Adrian. It's really great to be able to chat with you and go through all of this.
And yeah, looking forward to next week. if you're back.
Awesome. Yes, we'll definitely be back. Hopefully, we'll also have guests locked in to have a cool conversation with next week. So thank you again, Adrian, for joining. Thank you so much to everyone who came in and listened. We'll make sure to post the recap as well as a promo for next week's episode, and have a great rest of your Tuesday.